I hope you enjoy my stories. Instead of just clicking thumbs down, please comment and share how we can do better. If you do like our video, then please like and subscribe.
I never imagined that being on the Homeowners Association board would lead to such a complicated situation. It all began with a piece of land adjacent to our neighborhood, a charming farm that had been a fixture in the area for as long as anyone could remember. However, Karen, our HOA president, was convinced that if she could see it from her window, it must belong to the HOA. She would frequently engage in heated disputes with the owner, insisting that various parts of his property belonged to us. These arguments often spiraled into absurdity, with Karen staking claims on bits and pieces of the land that were clearly not within our jurisdiction. One fateful day, the owner arrived with a developer, evidently looking to sell the land.
Karen lost her composure completely.
She stormed out there, her voice echoing with indignation as she yelled at them to vacate what she firmly believed was our property.
However, the owner remained steadfast, shaking his head in disbelief at Karen's claims. With a calm demeanor, he uttered, "Sorry, but this ain't yours." His words cut through the tension like a knife, leaving Karen speechless as the reality of the situation began to sink in. Karen wasn't having any of it.
In a shocking turn of events, she reached for a gun and started firing off rounds, escalating the situation to a whole new level. It was like something out of an action movie.
Just as she was going full Rambo, the sheriff arrived on the scene,
sirens blaring as his vehicle pulled up.
The sudden appearance of law enforcement brought an abrupt halt to the chaos, leaving everyone stunned by the rapid turn of events. "Put the weapon down, ma'am." The sheriff's voice boomed over the chaos, his authoritative tone cutting through Karen's frenzied screams. She stood there, her grip on the gun tightening, eyes wild with defiance as she continued to shout about her rights to defend her property. The tension in the air was palpable, with bystanders watching in disbelief as the standoff unfolded. Karen's words echoed against the backdrop of the farm, the once serene atmosphere now shattered by the sound of gunfire and raised voices.
The sheriff, his hand hovering over his own weapon, tried to reason with her, urging her to reconsider her actions before someone got hurt.
But Karen seemed undeterred, locked in her own world of righteous indignation.
The whole neighborhood was out by then, a crowd of concerned onlookers witnessing the chaotic scene unfolding before them.
It felt surreal, like a scene ripped straight from a bad movie. Karen's voice still echoed through the air, her tirade showing no signs of slowing down, even as the sheriff and his deputies moved in to cuff her, leading her away in a grim procession.
In the days that followed, our quiet community was thrust into a whirlwind of attention.
Karen's face was plastered across the news, her actions dissected and condemned by the public.
It was revealed that she was facing serious charges, assault with a deadly weapon, trespassing, and a litany of others. Suddenly, our once peaceful neighborhood found itself in the unwelcome spotlight, our reputation tarnished by association.
Emergency meetings were called as we grappled with the fallout from Karen's actions. The HOA scrambled to respond, issuing statements to the press, desperately trying to distance ourselves from her reckless behavior. It was a frantic effort to salvage what little reputation we had left, to reassure our residents and the wider community that Karen's actions did not reflect the values or behavior of the rest of us. Then came the court case, a spectacle that none of us could have anticipated.
As I sat in the back of the courtroom, it felt surreal to see Karen, once the authoritative figure in our HOA, now the defendant in a criminal trial.
She was a picture of defiance, her posture rigid as she attempted to defend herself.
With every assertion, she insisted she was in the right, that she was simply protecting our neighborhood from what she perceived as threats.
But as the proceedings unfolded, it became increasingly evident that the evidence was stacked against her.
Witnesses took the stand, recounting the events of that tumultuous day with vivid detail. They spoke of Karen's erratic behavior, the sound of gunshots shattering the tranquility of our neighborhood, and the chaos that ensued.
Each testimony painted a damning picture of her actions, leaving little room for doubt about the seriousness of the charges she faced. The prosecutor, seizing upon the opportunity, didn't hold back. With precision and eloquence, they portrayed Karen as a dangerous and unhinged individual, whose actions had endangered the lives of others.
And then there was the judge, a figure of authority presiding over the courtroom with a discerning eye. As Karen continued to assert her innocence, he remained impassive, weighing the evidence presented before him. It was clear that he wasn't swayed by her defiant stance or her attempts to justify her actions.
In the end, his verdict spoke volumes. He didn't buy her story. In the end, the verdict was clear. Karen was found guilty on multiple counts, a judgment that reverberated through our community with a mix of relief and somber reflection. As the judge pronounced her sentence, sentencing her to years in prison, the gravity of the situation hit home.
But it didn't end there. In a stern warning, the judge made it explicitly clear that Karen was to stay away from the neighborhood upon her release, ensuring that her presence wouldn't pose any further threat to our community. The conclusion of the trial brought a sense of closure, but it also left us grappling with the sobering reality of what had transpired. Until that day, we had never truly known the extent of Karen's capabilities. Her actions had shocked us all, revealing a side of her that we had never imagined existed. Now, with the dust settled, we found ourselves more cautious than ever about who we entrusted with positions of authority within our HOA. Let me tell you about the nightmare I've been living through with the HOA president from hell.
This guy seems to have a personal vendetta against me, and it's been absolute hell dealing with him. I swear he's determined to make my life miserable in every possible way.
It's like he's constantly looking for reasons to target me and make my life difficult.
I've never encountered someone so relentless and vindictive.
It all started innocently enough with him trying to find me for the color of my door.
Can you believe that? The kicker. The HOA was the one who decided on the color and painted it.
Then he tried to nail me for not cutting the grass. But guess what?
The HOA hires contractors for that job, so I wasn't having it. His next move was to claim they couldn't access the area because I had stuff in the way. Total nonsense, of course. I demanded proof, and surprise, surprise, he had none. But wait, there's more. He even tried to fine me for noise complaints when I was out of town. Like, seriously?
I had proof I wasn't even there. The guy's not playing with a full deck if you ask me.
And then there's the parking debacle.
When I bought my place, I also bought 3 parking spots.
Seems fair, right?
Not according to Mr. HOA. He had the gall to call me greedy for having 3 spots when I only have 1 car. Excuse me, but I have friends who visit, and finding parking around here is like trying to find a needle in a haystack.
Now, on to the grand finale. He decides to have my car towed while I'm away for a few days.
I come back and my car's gone.
Cue the panic.
I checked my cameras, and lo and behold, there's that idiot removing the plates from my car and calling a tow truck.
According to the bylaws, only licensed vehicles are allowed to be parked, but my car was perfectly fine. I wasted no time.
I called the cops, showed them the footage, and you should have seen the HOA president's smug expression turn into pure panic.
He was arrested on the spot. Court wasn't any better for him. He tried to deny it was him on the video, but I had him caught from 3 different angles.
Long story short, he got booted off as the president of the HOA, had to cough up some hefty fines, and even had to pay for my car to be brought back.
Oh, and I got a nice little restraining order for good measure. Karma's a real thing, folks. COA treasurer and COA president are the parking lot police, while renting and parking their own cars.
I hear complaints all the time about condominium owners associations, COAs, and homeowners associations, HOAs, being awful. But when you're on a condo board and really think you're doing the best job you possibly can, you try to give others a little grace. I definitely cannot give the current condo board grace. Not only did they ignore every single thing in our condo bylaws about having a budget in December, releasing financial docs each April,
meeting minutes after each board meeting, didn't pay federal and state taxes, and it took almost a year for them to confirm we had insurance.
But 2 of the 5 are also blocking me from renting my limited common element parking space.
The president and her loudmouth husband own 20-plus units and are forever threatening their own tenants anytime they need repairs.
I expect them to be the slum landlords they have been this entire time, and I didn't vote for either of them being on the condo board once I realized who I was dealing with. I'm still more baffled by the audacity of the treasurer, accusing me of fraud for wanting to rent my limited common element parking space, while 6 of the 10 spaces are rented by landlords in our building. This includes the slum landlord president and one other condo board member, who rents her parking space from another owner who doesn't drive.
The treasurer blatantly lied and said that non-residents can't and have never rented our spaces. He moved in 2020, so how does he know the history of the building? I had to take him to small claims court and prove to a judge that a non-resident has rented a parking space.
Then he switched to worrying about the safety of the building and claiming I could be renting to a criminal or a rapist. But approximately 11 of our 21 units are resided in by tenants who have never had a criminal background check. I ran down every single one of the tenants' names, and he didn't know not one person and had to admit in court that he never asked for any vetting info. Now who is going to do more damage? The tenant who has keys to the lobby, the mail area, the basement, the storage area, the plumbing, and the laundry room. Or the non-resident who parks his car and then leaves without keys to access anything else.
This board wanted me to do a criminal background check, give them my parking tenant's lease, give them proof of insurance, and let them have the right of first refusal on who I rented my parking space, while none of the other 6 landlords are going through this vetting process.
Killer part is the vote was 4 out of 5 in support of me renting, even with the problematic president. And that one condo board treasurer still refused to release a parking pass, called the towing company to make sure they didn't release the pass to me, and got his unlicensed property manager friend involved. I refused to release the lease because I would not be held to a standard that the rest of the condominium wouldn't be held up to. I lost my case in court because I didn't turn in the lease to the judge for the same reasons mentioned above. I blame that 100% on me because I knew that was an element of a broken contract lawsuit. But even after all that, the entire condo board quit after they were stuck paying legal fees because of this one jerk on the condo board, going out of his way to power trip, and the president went missing and didn't show up for court.
Now the towing company still refuses to give me a pass. We don't even have a condo board anymore. Random owners are just paying bills because the condo board is dismantled after that nightmare treasurer and the unlicensed property manager ran off with thousands of dollars.
Now I'm writing every single politician's state-run organization and evaluating my next steps.
If you're interested in buying a condominium unit, be super careful about who you let move in.
This condo board treasurer moved in 2020 without anyone knowing he even bought his unit.
And now he's acting like he owns the whole building.